What's going on, hospitalitarians? It's Kyle from HospitalityMD back with another episode of our podcast interview series presented right here on YouTube. If you are not subscribed to our channel, just what are you waiting for? Just do it. We want you to subscribe to our channel, turn on notifications for our channel, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. The interview is with Peter Wenzell, CEO of Wenzell, Dantes, and Fisher Hospitality Group. They are providing hotel task force solutions for hotels. Their ultimate goal is to become a third-party hotel management company. Peter's a personal friend of mine and a friend of HospitalityMD. Last week, we went to New York City. We filmed more content with him. We have a vlog going, so be on the lookout for more collaboration on the horizon between WDF and HospitalityMD. This is a podcast with Peter where we're talking all about hotel task force, making connections in the industry, learning more about WDF. Enjoy the video, guys. We'll see you at the end. Welcome back to another episode of Hospitality MD. Today, I'm joined by good friend Peter Wenzell. He is the CEO of WDF Hospitality Group, which specializes in hotel task force and third-party hotel management. Welcome to the show, my friend. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks so much for having me, Kyle. It's a pleasure. You and I have gotten to know each other for the past really month or so, and so glad to be on your show. I really appreciate that.
And the pleasure is all mine, truly. Now, today's conversation is all about task force, right? You guys have really been able to capitalize on this very unique kind of labor market and circumstances that are occurring right now, widespread throughout the hotel industry, at least in the U.S. at the moment.
Right.
We did a show last week for the recording date, but by the time everybody hears this, it'll be a little bit older. But we just recently did a show called The Hospitality Hiring Crisis, where we heard from a panel of experts about what's taking place. And one thing's for sure is that this situation, right, of hotels having a hard time finding staff is not going away overnight. Right. When September rolls around, chances are, you might see a little bit of an increase in your applicants, but it's still not going to be completely resolved. So I'm curious to know, what have you seen on your side? What's your assessment of what's going on in the industry right now in terms of staffing?
Absolutely. No, that's a great point. WDF Hospitality was created to provide opportunities for others in the task force and recruitment world, right? In this time of a pandemic, we want to be able to provide opportunities to go back to work. We know the challenges of everything that's going on as far as finding talent, grabbing the best task force leaders and such. What we're seeing, honestly, is that there is an increasing everyday need for task force leaders. Essentially, right now, we have about 10 task force leaders across the country. And it's simply all of the travelers across the United States are simply tired of being inside their house. The past year and a half, we all been cooped up, and there's just been a huge spike in travel demand. And so WDF was created back in January of this year, and we couldn't have been any more excited to hit the ground running within that time. So to answer your question, I'm finding from clients that they just can't find the right talent. Guests are coming into the hotels quicker than that the hotels can staff. So great for business for us, right? There is so much business out there because of the lack of team members that they can find permanently. So I'll get a call from a client saying, Pete, we're in desperate need of a GM in this location, or from anywhere from a cook. We're just grateful to be able to provide support, and having 10 task force managers out at the current time, making sure that the hotels are running efficiently. We staff from every line level. it's just travel is so in demand. I travel almost every week when I visit our hotels where we have team members. I fly out of Newark Liberty, airport's packed, Atlanta packed, everywhere's packed. So travel's back. And with that demand, hotels can't keep up. That's where we come into play. And we have fully trained, vetted task force individuals that go through our thorough process, and we are able to deploy them out in the field for any position out there. So essentially, hotels cannot keep up with placing permanent, positions at the moment. So we're grateful enough to be able to recruit the talent through all of our connections. And I want to say, you guys, Hospitality MD, has been a huge help to us. And quite frankly, everybody on the LinkedIn world and making these mutual connections. And, our mission statement is to inspire hospitality communities by connecting real people to real opportunities to deliver the ultimate experience. And I say that because there are so many individuals that this is their first time going on task force assignments, and we give them opportunities to do so. And I feel like with their skill sets in the first time, that's why we're able to attract the great talent and give them opportunities out in the field.
Yeah, and that's awesome, Pete, and a lot to unpack there because,
Right.
number one, right, like I think there's so many different factors and influencing going into this current predicament that the industry is facing. And as we said on our show last week, a crisis, quite frankly, of what's going on with staffing. Booking windows for hotels, which used to be 2+ weeks out with individual business travel and group, and then even your transient leisure, pre-pandemic is now less than 24 hours. A hotel can go from half full to completely sold out. And it's repeated instances of things like that, or, like you said, this pent-up demand that's occurring that, it's almost like in the blink of an eye, a hotel can go from just needing a skeleton crew to needing to have a fully staffed hotel to accommodate the needs of their guests. Now, hotels are getting busier and there are opportunities to fill permanent roles. But one of the predictions that I have moving forward over the next couple of years actually are that lots of hotels, particularly in your major cities, are going to see strong peaks where they're sold out because there's this one convention in town and everybody's sold out, followed by prolonged periods of valleys where, again, you're seeing occupancies in 10, 20, 30, 40% range and kind of stagnating because there's, not enough demand to meet the large amount of supply that's in some of these cities. So there's a couple factors that I really, really think that task force, which was once kind of just something that people talked about, is actually becoming a critical component to the hospitality and hotel business model and staffing model and human resources strategy. And maybe we don't completely realize it yet, but I really do predict that it will become more and more commonplace as time goes on. Now, another thing that I want to mention, because you kind of described on one end of it, for a lot of the task force consultants that are out boots on the ground right now, and you said you have 10, right? However, I think it's important to note
approaching 12. So we're grateful.
Right. But there's this isn't even like it, like you have probably more leads that you're waiting to fill too, right? So there is this kind of the business is out there in terms of clients needing it, like we described. But on the consultant side, for a lot of people, it's their first time going out on task force. And I'm sure for the clients, it's a lot of their first times utilizing task force services. So I'm curious to know, in your assessment, in speaking with clients, have you found that they've been receptive to task force? Have any prior knowledge? Like, what's the baseline knowledge of task force in the hotel industry in your view right now?
Yep, that's a great question. So you have let's call the more experienced management companies that have utilized task force services such as ours. and you have some of the first-time management companies that, in my opinion, have yet to experience the task force, services. So you learn from both experiences. So with the larger management companies in turn that have used other task force companies, we understand that they know. On the other hand, it's fun to us to be able to educate the smaller management companies and the value of having task force support. Let's think about it. You have Greg is out there, on behalf of HospitalityMD, representing both of our firms, and we're forever grateful, as a night auditor. Well, what does that do? Take off the W-2 and benefits and takes off all of the other responsibilities that a third-party management company would have per se. So it saves money to the management company, if that makes sense, because you're not having the benefits to pay out. We manage the process from travel to going to the hotel to ensuring the high standards that the hotel has. There's no differentiation between WDF and the hotel. They follow the standards. And frankly, we love to be involved from a management perspective on day-to-day operations as far as making sure the hotel is well, from our team member being well, and all of the above. Educating the, let's say, first-time management companies is fun because you can take the experiences that you've learned from other management companies and show them. Prime example, a management company called me saying, hey, we've never used task force support. We need a light speed trainer. I'm in negotiations with them right now. So what I do is I send out a full description of our services, how personalized we get, to even sending weekly reports to the RDO or the GM based on our observations. I fly to the property and I meet the GM, I meet the team member, I observe. Just last week, I went from Charlotte, North Carolina to visit a hotel, and I was in rooms, checking rooms. I gave feedback to the RDO, and then I hopped down to Jacksonville and hopped to Orlando. Those are the things that we want to do to be able to provide feedback to the management company. Then we go through a process of, placing an RFP, and we do quite a bit of steps to ensure that they are comfortable with choosing task force opposed to finding permanent positions. Now, with that being said, and it's hard to find W-2 team members right now, right? So in turn, we're finding these solid task force leaders that we're so grateful for. And they come in, they know the brand standards, they know the systems, they know the processes, and essentially they hop right in, right? So it eliminates the training. It eliminates, the training, the benefits, so on and so forth. Hotel is just responsible for travel to and from the property. And it's fun. It's fun for these team members to come in and see a new atmosphere. I've done task force for a year and a half with a wonderful management company, wouldn't trade it for the world. And the reason why we formed this company, it was my dream back in 2014, but it was simply because we wanted to impact lives in a positive way. So my experience was going into these hotels was to make an impact on someone's life. And that's what we're doing out there. And for the management companies that don't know, we try to set the stage for being, whether it's us or another company, that task force is the way to go. We want to be the leading example in the industry, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think you've highlighted many of the benefits for not only the consultant to want to go out on task force, but also for the hotel ownership and management company to benefit from it. Because likewise, I've had the great privilege of experiencing task force, and I think that Greg would also agree on this. He won't be able to comment right now, but we'll get his off the record. But when you go, and you can comment on this as well, but when you are going out on task force, in my experience has been that the hospitality that you receive from the existing team that's there is so genuine, because you're only a part of their life for a short period of time, but you build great relationships with these people. You are building your network across the nation with relevant people to your industry and to your niche. You are, and not to mention, you're their favorite person in the world because you're the reason why they might get to have a day off that week or to be with their family. Like it, and it's that dire right now as well, where when you talk about impacting people's lives, being able to provide relief to somebody who's burnt out is critical. For the team who's there, obviously they want to be able to see their family. They need to rest. They need to take a break. For the ownership and management company, well, if you burn your people out, they are going to quit, or the standards, the service, the cleanliness, the sanitation, food and beverage, it's all going to deteriorate over time because people aren't sharp anymore. So there's long-term effects positively to doing it, but there's also detriments that can happen if you avoid it. For example, talking to so many owners about their closing inventory down on a regular basis and leaving revenue. We were waiting a year and a half for this recovery, right? We finally have demand, and it's the irony is that there's that the revenue is basically knocking on the door saying, hey, I'm here, come on, let me in. And a lot of hotel owners are actually having to turn away opportunities for revenue as a result of lack of staffing. So yeah, maybe on paper, oh my God, we have to pay for travel, this.
Right.
But it's like, that's not how you should be thinking about it. You should be thinking about it like, we can't afford not to do it rather than we can't afford to do it. And that's the way that I look at it. I'm sure maybe you would agree as well.
Oh, 100%. Prime example, we collaborate with a wonderful hospitality professional that everyone's seen, Jackie McDowell. Prime example, a management company reached out to her, said, we need housekeeping staffing in the middle of nowhere, Franklin, Michigan, and said, we only have 2 room attendants and we need you here today. Well, guess what? They need her to go staff that hotel, literally staff it. And that's what she's going to do today. And I admire what Jackie does because that is the toughest job. But to be honest, there is no way in the world that this management company should have found the money to provide, to be able to make this happen, but they did because it is a service that they needed. So there is a way. Going back to the point of task force and the terms of how gratifying it is, there's nothing like going into a hotel. I was on an 8-month assignment in Texas from 2018 to 19. Man, the world of task force is so different now. But leaving that hotel, seeing the emotions, seeing from their side and my side the impacts of life that we were able to make as a team is something else. And even now, I didn't work in operations since last March of 2020. And we took on our first assignment at a full service Marriott on the beach in South Florida. And I said, I want to dig in and I want to be a part of this and work the desk. We're seeing a lot of travelers from up north, where I live in New Jersey, coming down, and the environment of travel is so different. So I admire everybody in the trenches today. There's no comparison. It's all leisure. It's not BT. So you're dealing with a whole nother type of guest throughout the industry, wherever the location is. So everybody in the trenches is working so hard. But my goal and what I've seen for team members that have already come off assignments, they've been able to make a difference and they want to go back out there. Because I've had team members tell me they don't want to leave the mission unfinished. And that's very admirable. And, I respect it greatly from our team members. And frankly, every consultant in the industry or task force leader, whether you're with the management company or us or the other respective task force firms in the industry, we connect with everybody and we want to just try to help. So
I just got chills when you mentioned the not wanting to leave the mission unfinished, because it really is when you immerse yourself into a hotel environment, into a hospitality organization, and you know that your mission is to provide relief, to make other people's lives easier, to leave your mark. It truly is. I agree with you. When it's one of the most fulfilling things that you can do if having a hospitality career is already one of the most fulfilling things you can do, period,
Right.
just on its own, right? But going out on a task force assignments is probably the most fulfilling thing within that umbrella, because
no doubt
it's your opportunity to leave your own personal mark. Because yes, granted, you are, under the guise of WDF, or under the guise of Carver, under the guise of Hospitality MD, or under the guise of whoever. However, you are an individual at that property making your personal mark. That is your reputation. That is your legacy. And a lot of times, and even what I found in my experience, is that, like, for example, I'm still connected with some of the leaders at the hotels that I've task forced to several years ago. And I've been told that the things that I've implemented, or questions that I posed, or systems that I suggested, are still being utilized to this day. So when that impact lasts beyond your tenure, it really is just another kind of validation that you've made a difference in the lives of others. And it's only task force can provide that uniquely enough.
And, think about it in a hotel working environment perspective, but also you get to see all types of different environments. Yes. I went from, when I was doing task force, from Norfolk, Virginia to Richmond to Phoenix, Arizona, and I made lifelong friends. You make friends outside of the hotel that I still have connections with. So you think about it from a personal standpoint as well. You see new cities, you make new friends, and you're able to dive into an environment to where you walk in, and quite frankly, it's generally not the best situation. Could be, but generally, in my case, it wasn't. So going into an environment like that and being able to really work on systems and processes, even from, a front desk agent who wanted to go cross-train in a department that they may have never been able to get with the past administration at the hotel. But I like to say, you know what, you want a shot, you got it. A prime example, and this was early in my career when I was doing a opening, this young lady, and I tell it all the time because it's brilliant. It's just admirable what this young lady has done, and I'll be brief. But we were doing an opening in Marietta, Georgia, where I'm originally from. And this young lady came to me, never worked a day in a life in a hotel, yet alone clean a room or anything. She came to me and said, Pete, I want the executive housekeeping position. And we had a director of housekeeping. Things don't work out. I said, you can do it. I'll never forget. I was looking at her. I said, you can do it. She said, yep. I said, it's yours. Well, my cleanliness scores were in the 80s for the entire tenure I was there. Now she's an AGM at another Fairfield. So being able to provide an opportunity for her and still keep in touch with her and see how she's doing is amazing. And also know that hopefully I've been able to make a mark in some way. Not perfect. I'm definitely not. But if I could make a lot of impact in someone's life, and I know for a fact that our team members across the country now, from California all the way to the East Coast, are striving for that. And the feedback I've gotten from the clients and team members even are fantastic. So
yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing the lengths that somebody will go for you if you give them an opportunity to shine. Because
it's about how you treat them. It's about how you treat them. I think the personal touches at WDF, and we get better. We learn every day. We learn from you guys. We learn from Jackie McDowell. Everybody has just been amazing. And it's about providing opportunities for others to deliver the ultimate hospitality experience. And when our mission statement, what I said earlier, you take real people that's out there that just want that opportunity to hit the road, man. That's as simple as it is. And from starting with me at the top all the way down, titles don't matter in our company. It starts with us, and I want to be involved. I'll pick up my phone anytime to talk to anybody that's on our team or through LinkedIn or anywhere. And I think, to alluding to your point, it's about how you take care of others.
Yeah.
And finding this talent right now is hard. It's hard, but you have to retain the individuals within our firm to keep them wanting to go with us, because anybody could call them and say, hey, I got a role. They could leave and go, but how do you retain them? because we have open roles, and we're having very much success in finding everybody. I think it's because of the footprint we've been able to make thus far. So we're very fortunate in that way.
Yeah. And, talk about not only the personal and the spiritual almost benefits to somebody who's task forcing, but also just from a developmental perspective, for somebody who's in their career, as you mentioned, giving somebody an opportunity, right? It's very few people have the chance to see and have exposure to different markets, different, and more importantly, different problems. When you talk to most hotel owners or C-suite leadership with prominent management companies, and you ask the question, because I have, and you ask the question, what are you looking for in your general managers?
Right.
What I've heard multiple times has been, we want somebody who's experienced problems and has been able to remedy them. And when you go on task force, like you mentioned, you're walking into a hotel that is nowhere near perfect most of the time.
And I mean, interrupt you, but you get a little synopsis. What I've heard across that sometimes task force managers are just sent to a management company in a hotel. They have no back idea, right? And I tell them, I connect them with the owners and the management companies before they hit the road to go, because I want them to have some idea. But I say, you could walk into a hotel, you have no idea. There's one situation where, that I know of, that an individual left the company while we were there, and this and that. So that's the fun part, is being able to handle what comes your way. You can have a situation that the core issues, but you walk on in day one, and 10 minutes later, a whole situation could change. And it's about how you handle it and deal with it. And you hit it on the head, that it's an ever-changing process. And the best experience is task force, learning new markets, meeting people. And I can say 100%, my career best experience was when I was a task force GM.
And I will echo, some of my most positive hospitality experiences have been task forcing as well. We're interrupting this video to bring you a brief message from HospitalityMD. So if you're like many of the people I've been speaking with, chances are your hotel is understaffed. This hiring crisis is affecting everyone from roadside motels all the way up to big box and city center products. Now, if putting out applications isn't working for you, if people aren't willing to train, if they show up for work and leave a week later, you're not alone, but we can help. The same hospitality we provide during our content, we can provide to your hotel in the form of hotel task force consultants. They are brand trained, confident, and ready to hit the ground running at your hotel. And we work with all budgets and all types of properties. We can help you. Contact us today to learn more with the link in the description. When you do get a chance to go, right? Because a lot of people have anxiety, right? I don't know if anybody's ever expressed to you, I'm really interested in going.
We don't know the system. What are they going to do? And, for an example, there's an opportunity for an individual to go to an awesome property for a very long-term assignment. Well, I talked to the owner. I said, man, this is going to be tough to find somebody for, this property. Are you open to having somebody with other brand experience? He said, absolutely. That will give us leverage. So now we're in the process of having a wonderful experience, high-level GM go into this property, and the value is having the experience. So his anxiety was, I don't know the system. I said, don't worry about the system. You go in there and you do your thing, you shine, deliver the ultimate hospitality experience. We're there for you. And the management company and the owner will get you trained on that system. Don't worry about it. So to your point of anxiety, that's a part too. But there's an opportunity that we created for somebody that it could have been cut and dry. You have to have this brand experience. In a lot of cases, that has to happen. But we have to ask the question, is it acceptable? And I've gotten no, because I get it. But on other hands, I'm going to ask the question. So to your point, anxiety is there. And some folks, hit the road. They may or may not have families. It's hard. When I was on the road, I didn't have a personal life per se. So that's hard as well. But we try to send folks home as much as we can. It's typically, every 4 weeks with us just because we feel that's the most time, that most effective. And we can send them home for a week, man. We want them to go regroup themselves and go back. So they are able to rest. It's important.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned it is tough being away from your family. It's tough when you feel like you may not have a personal life for that span of time, but that's why that guiding mission, that North Star of helping others, when you are grounded in that and you keep that in the forefront of your mind, it helps you push through because you know that you have a higher calling and that you're serving others in something that's bigger than yourself. And I think that can
exactly.
Yeah. And I really do think that can help you kind of transcend those barriers of being away from your family and that sort of stuff. Now,
value of FaceTime, right?
Say what?
Value of FaceTime, right?
Yep. That's absolutely right. Yep. Yeah. That's, it's a much easier sell than having somebody write a letter home and getting that every couple of weeks. But no, for somebody who, like this GM experience that you mentioned, to be able to go and have a real opportunity with real people to learn a new brand with confidence, knowing that you have support, because that's a lot of things. It could be anxiety from, I don't know the brand. It could be anxiety from, I do know the brand, but I'm one of those people that likes to have everything kind of know what I'm doing before I go in, or I don't know anybody. I don't know what I'm walking into. And I definitely feel, because when people ask me personally, and I've said this on the show before, like, what's your definition of hospitality? For me, I always say hospitality is relieving other people's anxiety. And that's a broad umbrella statement, right? But I feel that what you've managed to do in terms of traveling to meet people, making sure that the task force consultant knows the name and has already spoken to somebody from the property or corporate level from the hotel before arriving, makes a huge difference. I remember one time I went on task force and I showed up at the hotel the night before I was supposed to start, and they had no idea I was coming. I didn't have a reservation in the system. And obviously, you bounce back, you overcome, you just, all right, well, I just told them, I'm like, listen, I'm going to be down here at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning running this whole show. So just put my reservation in and then email. And
I'll give you the information later. But
email the GM and let them know that I'm here, because somebody's going to know who I am. But it's those instances of, like, people are afraid of situations like that happening to them. I really believe that, especially for those who don't go on task force. It's such a, it makes you nervous when you're about to go and do something like this. And, what if you feel stuck? But again, and the feedback that you've received from the consultants already on the road, your experience, my experience, Greg's experience, anybody you ask who has done task force is all about it. They love it. So even for you, if somebody listening out there is thinking to themselves, wow, this task force thing sounds cool, maybe I'd like to go out and do that. But you feel like you might be holding yourself back. My advice to anybody listening would be that you will always take something immensely positive away from the situation. And those initial feelings of self-doubt are always overcome very, very quickly. And once you do it one time, your confidence just skyrockets, because
or on the contrary, it breaks you. If you don't, in my opinion, from that first interaction that I have with a team member, if it's not seamless from myself to talking to every single one of the owners in my company, Zach, Jessica, Peter Dantes, Miles, our director of recruitment, we want you to know that we're here for you. And if you don't have that confidence before you leave the house and knowing who you're going on an assignment with and who you're working with, that's where it all starts. Then you have to communicate with the hotel to make sure they know. So I always try to get in touch. If it's a hotel GM that's there, I get in touch with them. Or if it's a client, I have the team member. Of course, I always allow, and it's standard anyways, that the client decides who goes on assignment, but I let them all connect. And I personally make sure that there's a reservation in the system. And we also, want to stay in touch. I'll stay in touch with the team member no matter how many, team members we have. Day of, I'll call them. Hey, you ready? You need anything?
Right.
And then Jessica Fisher, our VP of Business Development, she calls everybody every Monday. She calls everybody in the field just to check on them, and we're so grateful for her. But I think
that's huge. That goes such a long way.
And I think that's where it adds value. But I also think if we didn't do that, it would not be good. And also the hotel has to take care of our team members in there to make sure they're valued. I know down in Florida, there's this one hotel that just goes over the top, and that goes for every single one of our hotels that we have team members in. They all say the hotel's taking great care of me and all of it. So to go back to your point, I know that was a long spiel, but anyways, it starts from the immediate first point of contact to alleviate their stress through the entire experience. You can either make or break a task force leader, especially if it's their first time, and especially when it's with a new upcoming company like us. We have to separate ourselves from the competition, and I'm grateful for my team and for what we're trying to do to be the utmost best in the industry when it comes to task force and personalization.
Yeah. I think that's right on when, for a first time task force leader going out into the field, getting their boots wet, they may not have and on one hand, they may not have the experience. On the other hand, they just may not have the mental stamina that's been built up yet over time after doing it for so long to handle not having everything that you mentioned work out. Like if you didn't make that initial point of contact and have it seamless for everybody and be communicative and make sure that everybody knows them, they may not be able to get over the hump of the first one. Now, I really do believe that once you do have your first experience under your belt, you can roll with the punches a little bit more because you ultimately know what you're going to be expecting on a general basis. But that doesn't take away from the fact that, you want to make it the ultimate hospitality experience for the guest, for the client, but also for the consultant. Because again, when we diagnose the root cause of why task force is even needed in the first place, yeah, on one hand, it's because we're going to be experiencing unpredictable occupancy and peaks and valleys. That's atypical from what it was pre-COVID. But more importantly, it's because hotels can't find people to work there. And that is generally a result of people not wanting to go back to the hotel job that they didn't enjoy because they were mistreated. So being able to remedy the problem of why people aren't going back to work and treating them right. Well, if the hotel company, for example, didn't treat them right, then maybe they found a home with task force, and that's going to be a better fit for them because they know that they have a family that they can come home to, that will be calling them every week, checking in on them, making sure that they're doing okay. Because we know, and again, we can't change what happened yesterday, but a lot of team members, when they were at home struggling for a year, they never heard from their management company. Right. They never heard from their GM. And again, when your director of sales, or your regional director of sales, even in some cases, is stripping rooms and making beds, yeah, we know that you might not have the time to reach out. So again, it's a snowball effect, and I don't want to cast any blame necessarily, but that doesn't take away from the fact that people felt forgotten about. And I think you guys are doing a great job to make sure that people don't continue to feel forgotten about as they come back into the hospitality industry.
Yeah, you're right on with that one. There's so many wonderful management companies that do their very best to take care of their team members, and I hear that every day. Every one of our clients are absolutely amazing partners, and they take care of everybody from their team members to ours. And it's just about how they took care of them through the pandemic. And quite frankly, there's a lot of hospitality professionals that have either left our industry because they couldn't find an opportunity or they had a bad taste in their mouth from however long they're in the industry. But I'm also seeing so many new vibrant companies come up like yourself, like, you've got Jennifer Dowdy down in, working on sales at Invigorate Hospitality. You've got so many companies that, that we've talked to, Prosper Hotels, everybody. And I feel like we're all coming together to work together. And I think that's what this is about, is not saying, oh man, WDF or Hospitality MD, we all have to find common ground. And I found that no one's holding grudges anymore against anything. Whether you turn down a position with one person, no, everybody's reconnecting. So that's the beauty out of a terrible situation. And, it's a good thing to see the industry come together instead of go apart. Because if we know anything at this point, gone here today, gone tomorrow, and we all have to stand together. Travel is back and roaring, and it will continue. And we're grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And without a doubt, just I will, because I think what you said was great. Just blessed for the connections, blessed for meeting new people, blessed for friendships, like-minded people who care about hospitality, because, it's nice, genuine people who share the same feelings that you have and are genuine are very hard to come by, and making real relationships. I really do feel that there are people that I've never met in person, such as yourself, such as many people that I've interviewed on the show and people that I've connected with who I've never met in person, who I consider them to be dear friends of mine.
Oh,
and it's like, we have so many opportunities to connect and build relationships. And I really do think that is, to your point, one of the biggest silver linings out of this crisis has been the opportunity to cultivate very meaningful relationships.
100%. And just look how we networked, right? Through a good friend of mine, Jackie McDowell, who I had never met in person, but we talked every day, like 8 hours, working on things together, collaborating. I said, Jackie, what do we have here? She connected with you. You connected us with Greg. Look where we are today. And Hospitality MD and WDF have other plans in the works. And
yes, definitely stay tuned for that, folks.
And we, I can't wait to meet you guys. We're planning a visit together now. I met Jackie. I flew down to Charlotte and she picked me up at the airport. And it's like we're old friends of 20 years. Like that's so just awesome. How it is. And you have to meet in person. That's why I think from a team member standpoint, I have to visit every property to meet my team members. And it's important. Zach Fisher does a fantastic job in staying in touch with everybody. It's just those personal touches. Now, unfortunately, not everybody on my team can make it out, but my COO, Peter Dantes, is on a task force assignment as a GM, not because he had to. We had plenty of candidates, but he wanted to go dive into the trenches where we have the most team members in one hotel. He's leading that hotel from day to night for as long as we can see. So,
good for him. So you guys have other people at that hotel within WDF task forcing.
5.
And the COO of WDF is running the hotel. It's like your own hotel, right, that you got right now. The whole hotel is damn near staffed by you guys, and you got the COO running the whole thing. I love that. That's beautiful.
And it's because I said, Dantes, we have this opportunity. He said, I'll go. And I said, you sure? I can go. And just like you guys, you and Greg was there in 3 days, but it takes hands-on leaders like that. And as we're going to keep growing and growing and growing, not just in task force, we will be a third-party management company one day, and we will never lose this personal touch. And, it's about staying connected. Without LinkedIn, through my whole career, that's how I got every past job. And no way I would have been able to launch WDF with my team the way it's gone without networking and taking every call, talking to every client, every team member. Don't care if you're from India to where I live in New Jersey. You talk to everybody because you never know where that could come from. Somebody that I met, he said, man, what are you guys doing? I love it. Connect with my owner. Now we have a long-term assignment going on, like I talked about earlier. That's just how it is making personal connections.
And one thing always leads to the next. And even if it doesn't, you made a friend. I think that's just like the philosophy that I take on networking.
And it comes back around.
Right. Give. Well, here, I'll say it this way. What you give in pennies will come back to you in dollars most of the time.
I'd rather put more money in my team members' pockets than ours. And I truly mean that. We're adjusting. There's a lot of things that we have to work through internally. And for all of our team members out there that are working with us on those things, you guys mean the world to us because we're growing as well. It's an infrastructure that every company goes through is learning as you go. And I'll never say I'm right on anything. Nobody on my team will. But it's how you adapt to these new processes and how you learn every day from a team member. I don't like to call them consultants. They're team members. And
that's right.
No one's bigger than the team. And I mean that. So thank you.
Absolutely. Everybody. Yeah. So as we wrap up here, I want to ask you two final questions. Number one, what's your advice for hotel owners and operators who are considering task force? And then alternatively, what would be your advice to a potential task force leader who is considering making the leap and diving into a task force lifestyle?
Yeah. So thank you so much for that. So if I could say to all hotel owners and management companies, the benefit of task force, whether it's with us or any respective task force management company, is let us take the stress off you. Let us send in team members that get it, that understand the systems and processes that you want them to have. Let us take the stress off of you of managing the process as far as, billing, staying in touch with the team members, being there for them and your entire team in any sort, and letting us really take that W-2 standpoint off as far as you don't have to pay benefits, you don't have to pay PTO, you don't have to do any of that. Let us handle that. I say we'll do the heavy lifting. We also do permanent placements, and we're lucky that we've had many opportunities with that. We've been able to provide opportunities. For an example, a young lady who wanted to get back into one segment of the industry, we were able to place her. That's providing an opportunity. Let us take the heavy lifting off you, whether that's finding great talent, whether that's housekeeping by, our collaborator, Jackie McDowell, whether that's any service you could think of. We want to take the heavy lifting. We want to do it for you. We want to be there. I'll come to your property and visit. And, as much as my schedule allows, and we're there. And I think it's beneficial. I think that you're seeing it all across the country, not just because the need is there. Task force will never go away, but it's very beneficial to the industry for a cost standpoint. You might see a budget of this, but in hindsight, if you pay more, you're still going to save money on all the benefits and healthcare and everything else.
Yeah, I just want to throw a number out there. I believe on average benefits are about a third of the salary most of the time that are in addition. As an operator, you don't see that because that is not typically, within your payroll budget, but it's there, and that's what your owner is going to see. So yeah, a third, right?
And you might see you might get a price from us saying this amount, but we only are being fair to our team member and to the property, all things considered. Hotel's responsible for room and board, travel reimbursement, food per diem, and that's it. And you pay a one-time fee. There could be overtime if it's approved, but it's really taking the stress off of the management company and the ownership group. Now, for any team member who's considering hitting the road with WDF or anybody out there, I highly suggest it. As I've alluded to, the utmost rewarding experience in my career. I learned the most. I made I like to think I made some great impacts on others' life, which lifelong relationships that individuals made on mine, whether that's from team members to regionals to guests, right? I still stay in touch with quite a few people. So, it's a beautiful thing to be able to hit the road and see new places, make a lasting impression. And we'd love for you to come join us because I think that you'll really see from the first minute of communication. You know, for example, there's a couple team members waiting right now to go on the road, but I'll call them every day and say, hey, we're just, we're there, we're right there. We'll get you in touch with the client and constant communication. So hit the road, try task force, embrace it, love it. Tough atmospheres, yes. Rewards lasting that you'll never regret in every sense of the form, from the property to your personal life. And you'll leave that property. Wow. I'll never forget when I left the property. It was emotional. And if you're emotional at the end of it, you did a good job.
Task force is an adventure that you'll remember for a lifetime.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, Peter, thank you for your contributions to hospitality. Thank you for your contributions to our show today.
Absolutely. And, you guys are doing a great job. You guys are fantastic. Greg, thank you for all you're doing for us. And Kyle, thank you for all you're doing for the industry. You guys are awesome.
That's so kind of you. And likewise as well. Just so everybody listening knows, WDF information in the show notes. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll be in the description. Peter Wenzell's LinkedIn, his personal page, will also be in the show notes or description based on where you're listening or watching. So make sure to connect with Peter. Be sure to connect with WDF, and we will see you next time on another episode of Hospitality MD. Thanks for listening. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the very end of the video. Check the description box for a link to Hospitality MD's website and social so you can connect with us everywhere and learn more about our services. The link to WDF's website and Peter's LinkedIn page will also be in the description. Guys, thank you so much for supporting Hospitality MD and for tuning in to this week's video. We will see you soon.